I never imagined that the man I had built a life with would utter those specific words to me. It wasn't a confession born of rage, nor was it a revelation of betrayal. Instead, it was something far more unsettling, a suggestion so alien that it made my pulse thunder in my ears and my stomach drop. On that fateful night, when I finally whispered the word yes, the foundation of our marriage shifted in a way that could never be repaired or reversed. It all started on a mundane Thursday evening. There was nothing to signal that my world was about to tilt on its axis. The house was draped in its usual evening stillness, the soft, mechanical hum of the refrigerator serving as the only backdrop to our silence. Daniel sat across the dinner table from me, but he wasn't eating. His gaze lingered on me with a heavy, unreadable intensity, as if he were looking at a puzzle he had been trying to solve for years. I eventually set my fork down, the clink of metal against ceramic sounding like a gunshot in the quiet room. "What is it, Daniel? What's on your mind?" I asked. I expected a conversation about our finances, his job, or perhaps some trivial domestic chore. But the way his jaw tightened into a hard line told me this was different. He leaned into the light of the dining room lamp, his voice dropping to a hesitant whisper. "What if we stepped outside of what we know? What if we tried something you've never even dared to consider?" I laughed, a sharp, nervous sound, hoping he was joking. But he wasn't. His eyes burned with a raw seriousness that made me feel suddenly exposed. "Different how?" I asked, my voice cracking under the weight of the question. He chose his words with agonizing precision. "I have a desire, a wish, but I'm terrified of how you'll react once I say it out loud." My heart began to hammer a frantic rhythm. A part of me wanted to stand up and walk away, to keep the door to his mind firmly shut. But a deeper, more reckless curiosity pulled me toward him. And then, he said it. The words landed like a physical weight in the air between us. "I want to see you with someone else." The room seemed to tilt. My fork slipped from my numb fingers, clattering against my plate. "What?" I breathed, the word barely a ghost of a sound. Daniel didn't flinch. His face remained a mask of calm, even as his knuckles turned white from gripping the table. "I've lived with this thought for months," he said softly. "The image of watching you, of letting another man have you while I'm there, it haunts me, and it drives me insane in a way I can't describe." I felt a rush of heat and cold wash over me simultaneously. "Daniel, that's madness," I snapped, my voice defensive even as my mind began to race. "You're my husband." But as I looked at him, I didn't see a man trying to leave me or betray me. I saw a man asking for permission to witness a side of me I didn't even know existed. He reached out, his voice steady. "I don't want to lose you. I want to give you permission. I want to be right there to see it happen, to know it was our choice, together." That night, sleep was an impossibility. I lay in the dark, listening to Daniel's steady breathing, which felt as loud as a storm in the silence of our bedroom. "I want to see you with someone else." The sentence looped in my mind until it stopped sounding like a nightmare and started sounding like a dare. My imagination, usually so disciplined, betrayed me. I began to visualize it, someone else's touch, someone else's eyes on me, while Daniel watched from the shadows. I felt a surge of guilt, but right beneath it, a dark, burning heat began to stir in my chest. The following days were a blur of tension and silent communication. I avoided his gaze over coffee, the routine of our lives feeling like a performance. Daniel knew I was thinking about it. He could see it in the way I moved, the way I lingered in thought. When I finally asked him why he would risk everything we had built, his answer was simple yet terrifying: "Because I want to see every hidden part of you. I want us to walk through the fire and see what we become on the other side." Eventually, the pressure became too much to contain. Standing at the kitchen sink one evening, I finally let the words escape. What if we actually did it? Daniel froze, his glass halfway to his lips. Are you saying yes? He asked, his voice low and vibrating with anticipation. I swallowed hard, feeling like I was standing on the edge of a precipice. I'm saying I want to understand why this haunts us both. Their who was even more shocking than their what. Daniel didn't want a stranger. He wanted someone we knew, someone who had been in our home, shared our wine, and laughed at our jokes. When he spoke the name, my blood turned to ice. It was someone I had secretly noticed before, someone whose gaze I had felt on me during dinner parties, but always dismissed as a figment of my imagination. When that man finally stood in our living room on a Saturday evening, the atmosphere was suffocatingly thick with unspoken intent. Daniel poured the drinks with a calculated calm, acting as the architect of a scene he had rehearsed in his mind 1,000 times. Every accidental brush of a hand, every lingering look, felt like a match being struck in a room full of gasoline. In the kitchen, away from the living room lights, the stranger followed me. Why can't you stop looking at me? He whispered, his voice a dangerous growl. I couldn't answer because I knew he was right. And when Daniel appeared in the doorway, not with the fire of a jealous husband, but with the cold hunger of an observer, I knew the fantasy was over. The reality had begun. When the stranger's lips finally met mine, it wasn't a gentle kiss. It was a desperate, starving collision. I felt myself unraveling, the faithful wifey I had been for years dissolving under the heat of the moment. Daniel stayed in the shadows, his jaw clenched, watching with an unblinking intensity. He didn't stop us. He didn't intervene. He gave me a command without words: don't hold back. In that moment, the shame I expected never came. There was only the raw, undeniable truth of desire. I realized that some wishes don't just change a night, they rewrite the entire story of who you are. We had stepped into the fire, and as I surrendered to the stranger's touch under my husband's watchful eye, I knew there was no path back to the people we used to be.